So today we're going to be reacting to another One Piece video. What if current Luffy was at Marineford by I'm D King, which great username. I love it. So good. A lot of these One Piece YouTubers, they have really great usernames. On to the video topic. I think Ace would still probably be alive, more than likely. I don't see Luffy really needing the second stamina shot from Ivankov, but we're going to see what I'm D King says. Go check out the original video, please. Leave it a like. Go check out the other videos. I'm sure they're good. But we're going to get started into this.
Luffy's progression in the manga has been moving at the speed of light.
Bro's been getting crazy.
Everybody's top 30 list to the point where most people have him within the top 10. But what if
he's getting there.
Luffy was at Marineford when Ace was...
Oh, dude, I like your background. I really do. Also, twinsies on the posters. I'm pretty sure, like, this is the most basic bitch One Piece thing to have, though.
Being executed. I got this video idea from a Reddit post from Darrow the Dank, so shout out.
I think I remember seeing that post.
Video, I'm going to be breaking down this what if scenario by talking about how strong I think Luffy currently is, where he would rank amongst all the people at Marineford, and how the arc would have played out if the current Luffy was there. As always, if you like content like this,
I really do think that he could save Ace. Also, what he said.
If you have a good time watching this video, please drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. But with that said, let's get into our first discussion topic of how strong I think the current Luffy is. Now, I discussed this a bit during my...
Okay, so I'm going to predict, before he says anything, this is, like, very low Yonko level to, like, above First Commander, obviously. I think it's somewhere in that range is what we're going to go with this.
My own top 30 stream, which I also did a video on. It'll be linked up here. But essentially, as of right now, Luffy has entered that top tier territory for me. Now, obviously, everybody has their own opinions, and there's gonna be some disagreements on who's ranked at the top. Some people like myself think that characters like Dragon and Blackbeard are stronger because they're gonna play a role later in the story.
I wholeheartedly agree with him.
Heated debates of Shanks versus Mihawk and the Admirals versus the Yonko. But despite the different...
Oh God, don't get started into the Yonko versus Admiral debate. God, that is so slippery. That's like general anime power scaling, just how toxic people get to each other with it.
Opinions people might have, I think for most people, there's a pretty clear top tier. For me personally, the people that are currently in that top tier,
the Yonkos,
all of the Admirals, including Akainu and Aokiji, Mihawk, Dragon, and now Luffy.
That's fair.
Again,
I agree with that.
Top tier. I'm sure other people value other characters more, like Sabo and Ben Beckman. But as far as the current Luffy goes, I think whatever that top tier you have is, he has entered it. And I really think that's a really big step.
No, this is 100% facts.
Territory. The best way I described it is, despite the fact that you might be weaker than other people, once you enter into that tier, you don't think that you're gonna lose to anybody else. Like Kizaru, for example. If you put him against Big Mom and Kaido, he would probably lose. But as we saw in the story, he was still...
Man, I don't know. The Admirals are just... I need to see more of them. Like Akainu. He got rocked by Whitebeard, or at least it felt that way, but he was perfectly fine, so I don't know what to make of that. I mean, he had a 10-day fight with Haku. Kuzan. I was having a hard time there. But it's just... the Admirals are weird.
Still very confident in himself when he told Akainu that he would go to Wano and take care of them. And even though I think he would have obviously lost in that situation, I don't see why he shouldn't be confident in himself when he's one of the 10 to 12 strongest people in the world. Because at the very least, even if he doesn't win, he could probably get away safely. So for me, that's the territory Luffy has entered, and I think it's warranted given all the progression he's gone through in Wano. First off, in Udon, he learned Ryo, which when he first used it against Kaido on the rooftop, that actually did some damage. And that was really the first time Kaido actually kind of respected Luffy.
I remember seeing that when I read that chapter, and I was like, oh, my boy. We're getting into it now.
Where he had that moment thinking about Luffy's potential and how much stronger he can get. So I think Luffy learning Ryo and giving him mastery of 2 types of hakis was a pretty big deal, even though it kind of seems minor at this point given all the other progression he's made. Which, speaking of that, after he got bodied again by Kaido, he somehow learned Advanced Conqueror's Haki. This is an ability that very few people
his whole learning
have
progression
world,
is just crazy.
Even pointed out. And I think anytime you gain an ability or showcase a feat that only few of the strongest in the world have showcased, that's an important thing to note. Like, I don't think there's one defining quality like Advanced Conqueror's Haki that qualifies you for that top territory, but instead there's...
Because what, doesn't... God, I can't remember. Doesn't Yamato have advanced? Yamato has Advanced Conqueror's Haki, but I wouldn't really put her at, like, the top tier, so I get what he's saying with this.
there's like a bunch of different boxes that you can check, and Luffy's starting to check them off. Because even after learning
He's
the
getting all the
advanced technique
boxes.
of all 3 Hakis, Luffy still got bodied by Kaido. But somehow, literally as this man was falling off of Onigashima, he got even stronger. Like quite literally, as he was falling off, he somehow learned how to communicate with the voice of all things. Now at this point, it's still kind of unclear
Maybe it's just all the meat
the
he
voice of
eats.
all things is actually gonna make Luffy stronger. But if we're talking about abilities that few people have in the story, this is the first time we've seen anybody use the voice of all things in this way. Momonosuke did use it to talk to Zunisha, but that seemed more of like a Kazuki clan thing. So I do think Luffy's starting to figure out the power of
Doesn't
the voice of all
Shirahoshi have it
things
too?
is important
Right.
to note. And then of course when Luffy got back up to the rooftop and fought with Kaido again, that's when he became, as he is known on this channel, Skyfucker Luffy. So yeah, once again,
that's a really good nickname. I gotta write that down in the book of nicknames for him. Skyfucker Luffy, it's great.
Luffy splitting the skies, that's another feat that only the few strongest in the story have done. So with all these abilities and feats Luffy is racking up, you can't tell me that he hasn't entered into that top tier territory. At this point, the only ability that he's missing is Devil Fruit Awakening, but Luffy's literally already defeated 2 people that have Awakening, so Awakening is not the end all be all. Now, of course, even with all of these
Ah, man. See, the whole thing with that is, like, he didn't really just beat him by himself. Because, like, if he's talking about Katakuri, then Katakuri just kind of gave up. And Doflamingo, Luffy had to... Doflamingo had to be distracted for, like, a solid 10 minutes while Luffy regained all of his haki. So, he did beat him, but, like, I ain't gonna, like, give it to him.
new abilities, I don't think Luffy is like top 5. I think he
Hell
still has
no.
a ways to go in mastering all of these abilities. And even in
I'd
this
say
current
top
fight
15,
against
top
Kaido,
10,
I still
somewhere
don't
in
think
there.
Luffy is as strong as Kaido, and Kaido probably still has another level to go. But at the
Oh,
same time,
no shot he's
Kaido's
strong
kind
as
of an
Kaido.
unfair opponent because at the very worst, he's top 5. So the more important question we have to answer is, where does the current Luffy rank at Marineford? And there's a lot of strong people he's competing against. It's one of the reasons that we love Marineford, because it was really our first glimpse at all of these
So
strong
I'd
people,
say
the elites of the
Admirals are
world.
still
First off, we
higher. I
had
think
all
Old
of the
Whitebeard's
Shichibukai,
higher.
like Hancock, Doflamingo, and Mihawk. And it wasn't just the ones that had the title at the time. We also had former warlords like Crocodile and Jinbei. Of course, the Admirals are also there, and the important thing to consider here is that Garp and Sengoku were still like pretty elite. Then there's also Whitebeard
I
and
forgot
all of
about
his
them too.
commanders, some random people like Ivankov, and of course at the end the Blackbeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates both show up. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, it's pretty crazy how many big time people were in that arc, and we definitely saw during that arc how outmatched pre-time skip Luffy was. But the Luffy now, though, is a completely different story, and while
I got it. It is just rough to think about. Like, that was a tough spot to be in. Like, that was what, half the story ago, and he was so much weaker there. It's crazy. He wasn't gonna do shit.
I don't think he would be the strongest there, he's still pretty damn close. First off, I think the current Luffy is clearly stronger than all of the Whitebeard Yonko commanders, including Marco and Ace.
I
Marco is
hardly
really
agree
strong,
with
but
that.
at this point, he's just not gonna stack up to Luffy. And then with Ace, you have to remember we're talking
He has a
about
hole in his
pre-time
chest.
skip Ace, who is definitely weaker than the current Luffy. Now, if Ace survived and also had 2 years to train, that would be a different story. But pre-time skip,
I don't know if he'd
think
train
any
as hard,
Yonko
though.
Commanders are touching Luffy, and that includes the Blackbeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates. The Blackbeard pirates, I think it's no question. At that point, they weren't even a Yonko crew yet, and most of them don't have the devil fruits they have now.
Obviously, the whole writing, like, Shanks' crew's dick. Like, I mean, we haven't seen nothing from him, but I'm, like, half questioning Ben Beckman. Just because, like, I don't mean to fall in that category, but, like, I don't know. I don't know where, like, the line is on him. We need to see them. Like, I hope that comes up 2022.
Now, the Red Hair Pirates, on the other hand, were already established as a Yonko crew, and as we found out in a recent Viva card? No, SBS. I always get them messed up. As we found out in a recent SBS, all the people that went with Shanks during Marineford are technically officers. But even despite that, I don't think any of them are stacking up to the current Luffy, including Lucky Roo and Yasop. Now, the one person
I don't think
has
Lucky
a
Roo or
chance is
Yasop
Ben
are all at
Beckman,
all.
because he is the right hand, and of course, in his Viva card, it did say he was comparable to Shanks, even though it was a little little unclear whether or not that was referring to power. So Ben Beckman,
It's always
I think,
crazy
is
to me
the
how much
only
older Ben
person you
Beckman
could
looks than
probably make
Shanks.
an argument for, but if I had to pick, I still think the current Luffy is stronger. Now, as far as the warlords go, most of
we
them
agree
are
on
not
that.
going to be competition for Luffy because Luffy literally defeated most of them. Jinbei has also literally joined Luffy's crew, so he's definitely not
think
stronger than
Mihawk's
Luffy.
like
So
the
that
only
only
like
really
competition
leaves us
there.
with Boa Hancock, Kuma, and Mihawk.
Oh, I
So
forgot about
starting with
Kuma.
Hancock,
I forgot
do
about
think
Kuma.
she's overlooked by a lot of people because she hasn't really showcased her
She's
power
not gonna
in the
fight him,
story.
though.
The fact that she has Conqueror's Haki as well, I think, is a pretty big deal. But I also think some people have swerved too much and have overrated Boa Hancock. Like, I think she's strong, and her having Conqueror's Haki is a big deal, but let's not get overboard here. It's not like she's using advanced Conqueror's Haki.
Yeah.
So Hancock against the current Luffy, I don't think she stands a chance. Not that she would ever want to fight him anyways.
Yeah.
The same thing I think goes for
She'd want to fight him just in bed.
Kuma, who I think is underrated, but competing against the current Luffy, he's not going to stack up. So really, the only warlord to consider
We saw what he did to
is
the Pacifista.
Mihawk, and I do think Mihawk is still stronger than Luffy. Now, I will admit, Mihawk's strength is very hard to evaluate because the feats that he showcased in the story, most of which came in Marineford, weren't really that impressive. He had an
Was
attack
scary,
blocked
though.
by Jozu, he also got stopped by Crocodile, and got stopped by Vista as well. He also failed to cut up Buggy. Really, the one dope
Let's
thing
be
that he
fair,
did
the
was
Buggy
cut up
one,
a
like,
big
that's
iceberg,
understandable.
but that's not really even that impressive at this point. So as far as feats go, I will admit it doesn't look too great for Mihawk, but I don't think he was actually trying a Marineford. I know that kind of seems like an excuse, but
No.
with
Like,
Mihawk,
I totally agree with him with that. There was a lot of scenes where you could just tell he was just, like, testing the waters. And I feel like he said that himself, didn't he? Somewhere in there? So, like, I agree with that. I think Mihawk still might be stronger.
I really evaluate his power with the narrative. And at the end of the day, this is the person that Zoro is trying
yeah.
to surpass.
He
Which,
has the
speaking
title,
of Zoro,
strongest
the current
swordsman.
Zoro has also made a lot of progressions. So honestly, I think because
All
of that,
three of the
we can
monster
use the
trio
current
have
Zoro
easy.
as an example. Do we really think if we put the current Zoro that cut up Kaido and has advanced Conqueror's Haki in Marineford, he's getting stopped by Jozu, Vista, and Crocodile and can't cut up Buggy? I don't think that would be the case, and that's why I think
Yeah,
Mihawk wasn't
that
really
is a
trying that
very,
much
very
at
good point.
Marineford. And also, we do know that Mihawk had legendary duels before with Shanks, and I don't really care if you think Mihawk or Shanks is stronger, but given that they had legendary duels, it probably means that they're pretty close in strength. So as of right now, I still don't think
it matters
Luffy
who's
surpasses
stronger
Mihawk
there.
at Marineford. So Mihawk is the first person I'm putting above current Luffy, and everybody else we're gonna talk about might be above him as well. First off, we have Luffy versus the pre-time skip Admirals, which I do think is pretty close. And I did do a video a while back about Luffy versus
I
the
still think
Admirals,
that
and
they're
in
stronger,
that video,
though.
I did say I think Luffy has surpassed the Admirals. But not long after that video dropped, Luffy dropped from Onigashima, so I took a big L on that. So I'm very cautious about putting Luffy over the Admirals.
Hey,
now.
my man
With
admits
that
he took
said,
an L,
though,
though.
still
I
have a
gotta
hard
respect
time
him for that.
believing that the current Luffy will lose to the pre-time skip Admirals. Like, even if we're talking about the current Admirals, I don't think Luffy is stronger than Akainu or Aokiji. And up against the other Admirals, I think he's very close to equal. And I think with the pre-time skip Admirals, Luffy is probably close to equal as well. But if I had to pick one, I'll probably give the edge to the Admirals because they put in a lot of work in that arc. But like I mentioned,
Yeah, I agree with him on that completely. I just, maybe, it depends, because, like, I feel like, you know, in-game, like, Navy versus Straw Hats fights, Sanji's going to go up against Kizaru, and I think that Sanji's going to win that, so maybe, like, pre-time skip Luffy versus, this pre-time skip Kizaru versus current Luffy, I think Luffy might be able to beat him, not Aokiji. I don't know, that one's close too, but I still think Akainu is stomping him, and I'm not an Akainu fanboy either. I just want to throw that out there.
earlier, if we're talking about the Marines,
Well, not stomping,
the
but, like,
Admirals are not
beating
the
them.
only ones we have to worry about because Garp and Sengoku were still thriving. Post-time skip, since both of them are kind of retired now, a lot of people have them ranked lower, but pre-time skip, and maybe this is just my Garp bias coming through, but I think Garp and Sengoku were the two strongest Marines there. And I think that
No
showed
doubt.
in the way they were represented in that war, where the two of them kind of sat back the whole time. Like, Sengoku barely did a thing. Whereas on the other side, Whitebeard kind of did that for a while, kind of just examining the war before actually taking action himself. And also, just in terms of portrayal, I do think Garp was the Marine rival of Roger, given how many times that was mentioned and also how they fought together at God Valley. And although I think Garp is probably stronger than Sengoku, I think
I think they're. I'd like to say that Garp and Sengoku are equal, but I still think both of them are stronger than Luffy. or pre-time, where we're at now. You know what I mean?
They're pretty close as well, and Sengoku did become the fleet admiral. So honestly, I think at Marineford, both Garp and Sengoku were stronger than Luffy. And
I
think
agree
the
with him
same
with that
still
too.
goes for Whitebeard, even though he was kind of sick and nowhere near his prime. He was still very clearly Yonko level back then, and let's not forget how much work this man put in that arc. I feel like there's been a bit of
Did
revisionist
so
history
much.
with Whitebeard because
He did so much
he
there.
probably wasn't the strongest in the world back then, given his old age, but he still was an absolute monster, and I think stronger than the current Luffy. Besides Whitebeard,
I saw him
there
in
was
real
also
life. It would
Shanks and
scare me.
Blackbeard, and Shanks I definitely think was stronger than the current Luffy, but Blackbeard is kind of a tough one, especially at the beginning of that arc when he doesn't have the Guru Guru no Mi yet. And
True.
honestly, at that point, I don't think he's stronger than the current Luffy. He did
Yeah, I agree with him with this as well, and I also think with Luffy's advanced Conqueror's Hockey, he'd like, there's a lot more he could do to Blackbeard. Because like, I think Ace probably could have done more in the Blackbeard versus his fight if he was allowed to use his Conqueror's Hockey there, but it's fine.
did win against
It's
Ace,
fine.
but I think with all the abilities that the current Luffy has, Blackbeard at Marineford is definitely weaker than the current Luffy. So in terms of power, that's how I think the current Luffy stacks up against the people at Marineford. But let's get to the big question of how he would have changed the outcome of the arc. Now, first things first, given that this is a what if, let's establish some ground rules. And I think the premise I want to set up is everything going into the arc is still the same. It's just that
Okay, so I guess he's going with like the losing Magellan fight and then getting the stamina shots. So, okay, I see him on that. Another thing, like when I said at the start, I was like, I think Ace would still be alive. A lot of people that I've seen point out is that the reason Ace did die was blocking Akainu's hit that he was going to try to hit Luffy when Luffy was just like fucked up on the ground. So I'm saying I think Ace would still be alive.
Luffy has the current power and abilities that he has now. So technically, he hasn't gone through all the experiences he has post time skip. He just has all those abilities in terms of power. That way, we
Okay,
don't
I
really
see where he's
alter the
coming at with
story
this.
too much, and it's a lot easier to discuss this what if. But yeah, to start things off, we have to talk about Luffy's entrance into the war because he gets there a little later. So the beginning part of that war with the Whitebeard pirates against the Marines, that still goes down accordingly, and that's really important because one of the great things about Marineford is that we really saw a lot of back and forth tactics being used. So when Luffy enters the scene falling from the sky, everything else is still the same. The ground is frozen over, walls are being put up so the Whitebeard pirates are trapped. But from that point on though, things are really gonna start to deviate with the current Luffy showing up. As far as Luffy's actions go, given that he's still the same Luffy, just stronger, I think he's still gonna take the same course of action. It's just that this time
Okay,
around he's
I
a
agree
lot
with him with
stronger.
that.
So like originally he was getting cut up and he was really struggling with just basic Marines. This time obviously that's not gonna be the case. He's gonna tear through everybody. And actually, I think one of the first things he might do is use his Conquer.
I was about to say, use his Conqueror Hockey, knock out all the weaker Marines, because he didn't do that until he was at up there and knocked out the ones who were holding Ace, right?
Hockey to knock a bunch of people out. It'd be like the same thing he did at Fishman Island, maybe not as effective, but even if he knocks
I don't think
out
he's
like
knocking out
10,000
5K
people,
Marines.
that's gonna be a pretty big deal as far as even out the playing field. Because on the Whitebeard pirate side, Whitebeard was the only one with Conqueror's Hockey and it didn't seem like he could use that power. So I think Luffy arriving will immediately kind of tip the scales, and then things kind of just play
Well,
out
the thing
same
with that
afterwards.
is, I feel like he'd probably, I'm sorry for pausing so much, I know I've been pausing. He'd probably accidentally knock out a lot of Whitebeard's side too, because if you remember when Shanks got on the ship, he knocked out a bunch of Whitebeard's people with that. So I'm thinking he would accidentally knock out. Well, I take that back. He can control it. I forgot. I was thinking like he wouldn't have such good control over it then. So yeah, I take that back.
Where he gets a lot of help from other people like Jinbei, Ivankov, and Boa Hancock. Boa then would get him the key to Ace's cuffs, which I think this time around he probably doesn't break. After that though, Luffy has that quick skirmish with Mihawk, who is one of the few people I think is still stronger than the current Luffy. Now in the original interaction, Luffy kind of like almost uses Future Sight, which ironically he has now, so he'll be able to do the same. But beyond that, I think he might actually exchange some blows with Mihawk, which would
I don't
be
know.
really epic to see. But
I feel like
mentioned
he'd still,
earlier, I
like,
don't
back
think Mihawk
off.
was taking things that seriously during Marineford, so it won't really be that big of a fight. Plus, Luffy's
I think
main
Luffy would
goal is
still
trying
back
to
off.
get to Ace, so Vista will probably come in and clash with Mihawk, just like he did before. But after that is where things go south a bit for the Whitebeard pirates, with the Marines bringing in the Pacifistas.
Luffy
and
could just
also
tear through 'em.
squad Mephistas, and also Squard
Oh yeah, that
slash
guy.
Whitebeard. And I think that
That
scenario
guy.
probably plays out the same because that was something Akainu had planned. And even though Luffy is stronger and he does have future sight, he's not really going to be focused on Whitebeard. He's completely focused on saving Ace. So I think
Yeah.
Whitebeard still ends
He
up
ain't gonna
getting
give
stabbed
two
by
shits on
Squard,
that
so
side.
he is going to be weaker, but that does prompt Whitebeard to take action. And now you have Luffy and Whitebeard going hand in hand all out.
Way
After
more
that
deadly
becomes
combo.
a pretty critical part of the tactical warfare where the Marines really put up the walls, but Oars Jr. is blocking one exit, which that eventually leads to the legendary moment of Luffy charging through and landing in front of the three admirals. Now, originally when that happened, the admirals did not take him seriously and kind of just let him do what he wanted and just beat his ass. But this time around, after seeing Luffy's power, I'm sure they're going to be going all out. Marco is also going to swoop in here and help, so we're going to get like a 3v2 of the admirals versus Luffy and Marco. And this is where I think things are really going to just
Oh yeah, well if Marco's helping him, that's gonna be a way easier fight then, yeah.
escalate to a full-out brawl. At this point, the Whitebeard pirates are all going to charge through as well, and Whitebeard's going to give the command to back up Luffy. So I think this is where things probably really change from the original story. Like Marco, instead of trying to go after Ace and getting punched by Garp, he'll probably just try to hold off Kizaru just for a while so Luffy can go ahead. I'd imagine Whitebeard is a lot more aggressive, maybe going directly after Akainu. And then I think with the current Luffy's power, with the help of like Jozu and some of the other commanders, Aokiji can be held off so that Luffy can advance. Which
I also feel like, I partly feel like that Aokiji might not go like full power just because like he kind of likes Luffy's crew a little bit for helping Robin. I don't know. But I forgot that Marco came in to help him. So yeah, this is definitely going in a lot better way.
which then really gets us to the final boss battle of Luffy versus Garp and Sengoku. Now, like I
Garp
mentioned
ain't gonna be
earlier, I do
shit.
think both of them are stronger than Luffy. But one thing we have to consider is that Garp is kind of going through a lot right now. He's kind of mentally unstable. Even during Marineford, he
My
got punched by
grandsons!
Luffy, even though he was way stronger than him. So I honestly don't think Garp is going to be much of a factor. He'll probably just get knocked off to the side and not fight back. So it's really just Luffy versus Sengoku, and I'm sure Sengoku's going to be a lot more serious this time around. The first time around,
yeah.
Luffy tanked a hit with just Gomu Gomu no Fuzen and was able to save Ace. This time around, definitely not going to be as easy. Sengoku's going to be going full out. But
Well, the thing about this is, though, right, is that Luffy does have future sight now, so he could kind of see that. I think he'll probably just grab Ace or move him out of the way enough to where he's not going to get hit. Because, you know, that future sight is definitely going to help there, even if, you know, Sengoku's going to do a more powerful hit.
even despite that and the fact that I think Sengoku is stronger than the current Luffy, I think Luffy, just like the first time around, will be able to do enough to free Ace. I think he'll be really using Future Sight to his advantage, and with the speed of Gear 4th, he should be able to free Ace. And this
Sure.
time around,
Yeah, I agree with
Future
him.
Sight in his bag, I don't think Kizaru's going to be
Let's
able
go.
to break the key. So I think just
That-
like in Marineford, Luffy does
That's what
free
I'm talking
Ace, and
about.
there's a sense of optimism. Now, I do think at this point, the Whitebeard pirates are probably a little beat up from holding off the Admirals. Whitebeard did still get stabbed by Squard as well, but the
Yeah.
situation is a lot less dire with the current Luffy there as well, where they might not have to sacrifice.
Ooh, you know what? I thought about this some more, and this is post-brain working that y'all probably already thought of, but, like, Luffy can hold off enough until Shanks get there easy now, and then I'm assuming Law's still going to come up in the submarine, right?
Whitebeard, and they could kind of try to fight back instead of Whitebeard just like sacrificing himself so everybody could leave. Whitebeard might still try to do that because that was
He
his
definitely
plan
will.
from the get-go.
That
but Luffy
ain't
might
no
not
way
let
he's
him.
not
So
doing
at
it.
this point, I think this will be the most brutal part of the war where everybody's just going at it, fighting to the death. Now, Blackbeard will be the first one to show up here, but the situation's not going to be what he expects. And honestly, I'm not sure if he's going to able to take advantage like he did before and steal
True.
Whitebeard's
Ooh,
fruit.
I didn't even think
there's
about
definitely
that.
still going to be a chance because Whitebeard is still going to take a lot of damage. But at
And
the
he's
very
old.
least, Blackbeard
Still
is
probably gonna
gonna
have that heart
struggle
attack.
a lot more, and maybe that's just enough time for Shanks to show up and
That's what I'm
change things
saying.
even more. And if that's the case, I think the situation becomes completely unpredictable because unlike the original story, Whitebeard and Ace are not dead at this point, so Sengoku has no reason to just give up and lose to pirates. Kobe probably still has that moment of like pleading for everybody to stop fighting, but I honestly don't
I didn't think about Sengoku, like, doing that. But if you have Whitebeard and Shanks there, both their crews, like, I'm thinking Sengoku can cut his
think
losses.
Sengoku's just gonna admit defeat here. Sengoku is one of the better Marines, but he's still the fleet admiral and he's willing to take the actions necessary to win the war. So
I
if
don't
Ace
know.
is not executed and Whitebeard is still alive, I don't think he gives up. So honestly, I think the aftermath is just gonna be an absolute bloodbath. And the battle will probably continue until Whitebeard maybe sacrifices himself again. Blackbeard will probably try to take advantage, but I'm not sure if Shanks is gonna let him. him, but I think with Whitebeard dying, that might be enough for Sengoku to stop the war. So in the end, I think Luffy does save
true.
Ace, but Whitebeard is still sacrificed. But
That's
those are just my opinions.
Someone said that's fine with me. No, it's not. I like Whitebeard. He's cool. But I agree with him. I can see that happening. He hit a lot of smart points there. Made me think a lot more about the situation before I started. But yeah, what a great video. Like I said, go leave a like on his video. I'm D King. Great name. I love that dude. I appreciate it. But yeah, this is a great video. Maybe leave a like on my video. Maybe subscribe to me. But